We're on day 152 of our Bible in a Year series, and we are continuing on in Job, getting to the end of the back and forth so far that we've seen between Job and his friends. If you remember, they sat together in silence for like 7 days. We had the first round of speeches where the friend would say something, Job would respond, friend two, Job would respond, and we did that. Had a second round of speeches. Third round, we're coming to an end of that. And we will end on a kind of a song. A hymn, I think, is what my Bible classifies it as. But kind of a song about situation, but wisdom. And it's interesting. So we will jump right in Job 25. Then Bildad the Shuhite replied, "Dominion and dread belong to him, the one who establishes harmony in his heights. Can his troops be numbered? Does his light not shine on everyone? How can a human be justified before God? How can one born of woman be pure? If even the moon does not shine, and the stars are not pure in his sight, how much less a human who is a maggot, a son of man who is a worm." A short chapter 26. Really fast on that one. Then Job answered, "How you have helped the powerless and delivered the arm that is weak, how you have counseled the unwise and abundantly provided insight. With whom did you speak these words, whose breath came out of your mouth? The departed spirit tremble beneath the waters and all that inhabit them. Sheol is naked before God, and Abaddon has no covering. He stretches the northern skies over empty space. He hangs the earth on nothing. He wraps up the water in his clouds, yet the clouds do not burst beneath its weight. He observes the view of his throne, spreading his cloud over it. He laid out the horizon on the surface of the waters. At the boundary between the light and darkness, the pillars that hold up the sky tremble, astounded at his rebuke. By his power he stirred the sea, and by his understanding he crushed Rahab. By his breath the heavens gained their beauty. His hand pierced the fleeing serpent. These are but the fringes of his ways. How faint is the word we hear of him. Who can understand his mighty thunder?" Chapter 27. Job continued his discourse, saying, "As God lives, who has deprived me of justice, and the Almighty, who has made me bitter, as long as my breath is still in me, and the breath from God remains in my nostrils. My lips will not speak unjustly, and my tongue will not utter deceit. I will never affirm that you are right. I will maintain my integrity until I die. I will cling to my righteousness and never let it go. My conscience will not accuse me as long as I live. May my enemy be like the wicked and my opponent like the unjust, for what hope does the godless person have when he is cut off? When God takes away his life, will God hear his cry? And when distress comes on him, will he delight in the Almighty? Will he call on God at all times? I will teach you about God's power. I will not conceal what the Almighty has planned. All you have seen for yourselves. Why do you keep up this empty talk? This is a wicked man's lot from God. The inheritance and ruthless receive from the Almighty. Even if his children increase, they are destined for the sword. His descendants will never have enough food. Those who survive him will be buried by the plague, yet their widows will not weep for them. Though he piles up silver like dust and heaps up fine clothing like clay, he may heap it up, but the righteous will wear it, and the innocent will divide up his silver. The house he built is like a moth's cocoon, or a shelter set up by a watchman. He lies down wealthy, but will do so no more. When he opens his eyes, it is gone. Terrors overtake him like a flood. A storm wind sweeps away at night, and east wind picks him up, and he is gone. It carries him away from his place. It blasts at him without mercy, while he flees desperately from its force. It claps its hands at him and scoffs at him from its place. Okay, and chapter 28, which is the last chapter for today's reading. So those are very, very short chapters. But this is my Bible has a title as a hymn of wisdom. I believe this is Job still. Kind of makes sense with the context of what we were seeing, and with looking ahead at what we see in chapter 29 coming up. It makes sense for this to still be Job. So I think that's the general consensus. Interesting point here. Well, I'll say it when we get to it. It's verse 2, so it's pretty quickly. Chapter 28. Surely there is a mine for silver, and a place where gold is refined. Iron is taken from the ground, and copper is smelted from ore. So, there was a time when I believe scholars did not think at this time that they had I don't know what the word would be, process to refine iron to actually make iron things, weapons, things like that, or to get iron from out of the earth. And so, Job has this, it mentions it, right? And so this is possibly some evidence that Job was written earlier. Now that we have discovered that they did have the ability, I think, even like Moses' time, they did have some ability there with iron. So this is an interesting little tidbit. Verse 3. A miner puts an end to the darkness. He probes the deepest recesses for ore. In the gloomy darkness, he cuts a shaft far from human habitation. In places unknown to those who walk above ground, suspended far away from people, the miners swing back and forth. Food may come from the earth, but below the surface of the earth is transformed by. These rocks are a source of lapis lazuli, containing flecks of gold. No bird of prey knows that path. No falcon's eye has seen it. Proud beasts have never walked on it. No lion has ever prowled over it. Verse 9. The miner uses a flint tool and turns up ore from the root of the mountains. He cuts out channels in the rocks, and his eyes spot every treasure. He dams up the streams from flowing, so that he may bring to light what is hidden. But where can wisdom be found, and where is understanding located? No one can know its value, since it cannot be found in the land of the living. The ocean depths say, "It's not in me," while the sea declares, "I don't have it." Gold cannot be exchanged for it, and silver cannot be weighed out for its price. Wisdom cannot be valued in the gold of Ophir, in precious onyx or lapis lazuli. Gold and glass do not compare with it, and articles of fine gold cannot be exchanged for it. Coral and quartz are not worth mentioning. The price of wisdom is beyond pearls. Topaz from Cush cannot compare with it, and it cannot be valued in pure gold. Where then does wisdom come from, and where is understanding located? It is hidden from the eyes of every living thing and concealed from the birds of the sky. So it's interesting hearing them talk about here how priceless wisdom is. Essentially, it's taking that and thinking back to what we saw from Solomon, where they'd come from all over the place with all these gifts and gold and silver and jewels and livestock and all this stuff, and they would just give it to him for being able to stand and listen to him, right? The value there, they saw the value of that wisdom. Verse 22. Abaddon and Death say, "We have heard news of it with our ears," but God understands the way to wisdom, and he knows its location, for he looks to the ends of the earth and sees everything under the heavens. When God fixed the weight of the wind and distributed the water by measure, when he established a limit for the rain and a path for the lightning, he considered wisdom and evaluated it. He established it and examined it. He said to mankind, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to turn from evil is understanding. Okay, that is it for our reading for today. Tomorrow we will get back into Job has some more to say, and yeah, a final plea, if you will, from Job. So we will get to that tomorrow. But today we are back in some questions. And question 1, Job's insistence on his integrity in chapter 26 through 27, despite his pain, how might his resolve prompt us to reflect on the importance of holding fast to righteousness when God's purposes remain unclear? So essentially, holding fast to righteousness when God's purposes remain unclear. You're going to go through crap. You're going to have stuff that you go through, stuff that you battle with and deal with, and things of that nature. Your faithfulness to doing what God has called you to do or wants you to do should not be contingent upon you having pleasant circumstances. You should, regardless of circumstances, be trying to do what is pleasing in the sight of God. If you're doing the things just during good circumstances, then you're not actually doing it for God. You're doing it for those circumstances. It seems like really simple, but it's, I think, and likewise, if the situation is good, you need to continue. That's something I think we see a lot of. People will come to God when situations get hard and bad, and then as soon as they start to get better, they kind of like step away because they feel like they don't need God anymore. Both those are bad. Both of those are bad. Not good. Should not be the case. But yeah. Question 2. Job's observation in chapter 27 that the wicked face judgment, yet his own suffering persists. How does this tension invite us to wrestle with the mystery of divine timing in the hope of ultimate justice fulfilled in Christ's return? This kind of fits in with the previous question. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. Trust in God includes trust in God's timing. Something I've talked about a little bit already, but this is a main point when it comes to looking at the fruit of patience. Trusting in God includes trusting in his timing. Not just trusting in his ability or anything else. It includes, you have to trust his timing too. Because if you don't trust his timing, ultimately it's just you don't trust God, period. So trusting in his timing in the situations that we're in, it can be difficult. It's incredibly, incredibly difficult, especially if you're in the middle of something really, really hard. But trusting in his timing does I don't want to say it makes it easy, but it does make it easier if you trust that he is working things out the way that they need to be worked out, in the time they need to be worked out in. It's easy for me to sit here and say it. It's a lot more difficult when you're actually in the midst of something to actually live it out, right? As are most things. So, question 3. Job's poem in chapter 28 portrays wisdom as more precious than treasures and accessible only through God. How does this perspective challenge us to pursue divine wisdom over worldly knowledge in navigating life's mysteries? Yeah, so I mentioned this when we were reading it, but it does throw back to how Job is describing wisdom here, throws back to Solomon, right? We see all these people around that brought all these lavish gifts and things like that to Solomon for the purpose of the wisdom that he had that came from God. Um, I think we saw that played out in Solomon. I think people saw, even people that didn't worship God necessarily, saw that there was something there. They had heard all these rumors and things, but even like once they actually got there to see him and hear what he had to say, it was more so even than what the rumors had been. And so, yeah, it's I think it's an interesting connection there. Um, I'm sure it was intentional. So that is it for today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I enjoy seeing comments, interacting as much as I can, um, as much as I'm able to. I have a lot of other stuff currently on my plate, so I'm not able to get in on every comment. I do try to get in as much as possible, though. If this has been a blessing to you, consider sharing it with others. This is the main goal that we're doing this for, is to help people stick with a daily Bible reading plan, give them someone that they can read along with every single day. So you can pass this on to somebody else. They can start reading along with us, and maybe it'll be a blessing to them as well. Tomorrow we'll be getting back into Job still. I think we have 3 days, including tomorrow. No, I'm way wrong. 1, 2, 3, 5 days, including tomorrow. So yeah, 5 days, including tomorrow. We'll be back in Job tomorrow, and it'll be good. We're gonna see kind of Job's final plea, kind of at least at the end of this, he's kind of presenting his case again one last time. So it's good stuff. It'll be interesting, and we'll see you then. Thanks. God bless.